Please hold while I confirm.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And good morning, good afternoon. Hello, everybody. My name is Lucas Borak, and I welcome you to our webinar. Today, we are going to talk about request projects. First, we'll look at the agenda, who is the intended audience for today's webinar. And these are the SAP Ariba administrators for sourcing, contracts, and procurement workspace or request workspace. So also the administrators for these areas, because we are going to cover sourcing, contracts, and procurement requests and workspaces or projects as they can be called. We are going to look at first what is a request. Well, it sounds easy. What is a request and how to configure the request templates. We're also going to look at the request to process, what steps need to be taken, about the approvals. We look also at the different types of requests that we are going to cover today: procurement, contract, and sourcing. You see that there can be many other different types of requests in the system, or you have heard, but we are going to cover today only these three, so procurement, contract, and sourcing. I'm going to mention that again later. So basically those which are going to result in a workspace or a project. Yeah, we are not going to cover requests, supplier requests, or requests, request for proposal, or request. We have different types of requests. We are going to also look at the different options, but that the request can be integrated and the BPC spotlight. As always, part of the webinar is our slides. We learn things, but also we learn through demonstration. At the end, we'll wrap up. We have time for Q&A, and as always, your feedback. All right, so we continue with what the objectives and with what you are going to learn today. In this session, you will learn about a request project in SAP Ariba Solutions, how the process flows for the requester, why the request projects, why the requests are used, and how to configure the templates. Of course, we are going to learn as well about the benefits of using request projects and about integration with SAP ERP. So that means that after this session, you will have an understanding of the process of using request projects and how you may be able to apply them to your process. So the objective is to understand how your organization could benefit from the request projects. Request overview. So what is a request? A request is a project to request the creation of another project, project or workspace. Maybe that I'm accurate. So not those which do not result in a workspace, like supply request, right? In SAP, we are not going to cover that because it does not result in a workspace or a project. Why do we use that? We use it because of the limited number of licensed users. So request projects can be created by non-licensed users. Big advantage, or one of the main reasons why to use request projects. Of course, very good is that the header fields collect information about the potential project and help approvers to approve and populate fields on the resulting project. So the preparer, the requester, fills in the header fields, and they are copied, taken over into the project workspace itself after the approval by the approver. The tasks that we have are used to analyze requests and approve. So that means that we do have, like in any other workspace or project, documents, tasks, team, and the tasks guide the requester, and also very important is the approval task. Based on the approval task, the approver will be notified and can approve and continue further. For example, one of the tasks can be not only the approval, but the budget approval needs to check something and make sure that the request is within budget. As we are going to learn later today, this is another reason for using a request project. We need to have an approval. We need to have a stop gate that prevents users from creating any project, any contract, but there is a approval, for example, budget approval. As with any other project or workspace which has tasks, team, but has also documents, on the Documents tab of a request, do have the projects itself: sourcing project, event, contract workspace, procurement workspace. So we defined it already on the template level. The projects or sub-projects or workspaces are added there automatically after the approval. So besides the tasks, documents, there's also team. Team can be different in the request and can be different in the follow-on project or workspace, or can be the same, because we can, when we create then the project or workspace based on the request, we can decide, do we want to copy also the team members, yes or no. Templates, we can have multiple templates for the workspaces, for the projects, but also there can be multiple templates for the contract workspace, for the requests. Okay. So how does it work? We are going to show it in the demonstration, but here we have a screenshot from a contract requests template. When we look at the documents, there is a contract. So this is this is the request that the requester works on. As soon as it is approved, the contract as a follow-on project appears automatically. It's nice to say, but it's not appears automatically, of course, because it's based on a condition. So when the condition is met, is approved, the process status changes to approved, then we will be able to see the contract workspace inside the contract request. It is based on the, I'm going to demonstrate that, on the process status change, so from not approved and changes to approved. How come that the process status in the contract request changes from not approved into approved? Because we'll specify on the approval task that the field settings for process status approved. So when it is approved, the contract request process status changes to approved, and the contract appears under the Document tab. I think I've said it several times, but also we are going to see it several times, that the project is added to the request as a sub-project. So if we can see it then when we search for projects, we will be able to click on the request or on the sub-project. So the overview of requests, so what is the interface? The new project, contract workspace, sourcing projects, procurement workspace is added to request as a sub-project. This new project will have a web jumper link to the request on the overview screen. So as I said earlier, we can easily move between the request and the sub-project, or from the sub-project to the request. There are fields which are, what is copied or taken from the request into the project or workspace. So it's definitely the Ariba out-of-the-box fields when you have the It can be the supplier, for example, in the contract request. It can be the supplier. It can be the organization, department, commodity, value of the contract, and so on, or similar fields or same fields in a sourcing request. So from the standard Ariba out-of-the-box fields, when they are filled in the request, they will be pre-filled or used, copied, taken over into the project or workspace. Also custom fields, but the custom fields, if they don't appear or are not taken over, it's because the field was not configured maybe properly, or that's the feature of the field, if it's taken over to the sub-project or not. So when you are starting deployment, make sure that if the field should be used also in the sub-project, that it's set up properly. With the teams and documents, I have said it already, the teams from the request can be copied or taken into the sub-project, but we do have the option every time if we want to use the same team members in the sub-project or not. The same with documents. Probably yes, yeah, we want to use the documents, because when the requester already prepared the draft of the agreement, we would like to use it in the sub-project, into the contract itself. So it makes sense to use yes option. So why do we use requests? One of the main reasons is that allows non-licensed users to create project shell. So typical situation that the customer purchases a certain number of licensed users, but it's not sufficient for all the people in the organization who need to create the contracts. So any buyer needs to create the contract, but do not have enough licenses. So it helps to avoid the need for a large number of user licenses. That also users with a team member license or non-license can create or can prepare, for example, contract request, and then the user with the licensed user can continue, but everything is already prepared. It gives you also control on the project creation. So the approvers validate information in request and approve project creation. So how can customers prevent that any buyer creates any sourcing project or event, even there is a contract, there is not a contract? Can we again ask the suppliers to negotiate prices? Well, this is one of the option, or this is the option that you can use to control that the buyer first needs to submit a sourcing request, prepare everything, and after the approval, maybe the same user can continue with the sourcing project or with the RFP or with the auction. So it needs to be validated and approved before we continue with the auction, with the RFP. It eliminates creation of projects without necessary information. So again, as an approval step. Also the templates supporting various business processes. We can, as I said, we can have as many templates as it's necessary for contract, sourcing, procurement, based on the request. All right. So these would be the reasons, and we can look at the process request flow. So first, the requester completes the data entry on the request screen and clicks create. So that means the requester clicks on create, contract request, sourcing request, fills in the header fields, selects the request template, and clicks on create. On the team tab of the request, come up automatically from team member rule file or are added manually approvers or groups, On the user, the requester works on the Documents tab, on the Team tab, on the Documents tab, on the Tasks tab, follows the process. The documents prepares documents. For contract, it would be the draft of the agreement. On the sourcing, prepares the line items, invites suppliers. On the Tasks tab, completes the tasks. Typically, there are not many tasks in the requests. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 tasks, maybe only, because it's really quite straightforward. And important is the approval task. Based on the approval task, based on the approval, we can continue work with the project or workspace. So when the approval task is submitted, the approver is notified and approves or denies. If approves, then on the Documents tab, the project, sourcing project, contract workspace appears and continues the same user as the approver or different user, and runs the events, RFP, auction, creates the contract workspace, works on the, signature tasks and so on, and publishes the contract. Okay, so that will be the requests flow. And the requester process, when we look as a summary, so access, create screen for needed request type from home dashboard. That's what we have done in the previous slide. Complete all required fields and create. Maybe not, so I would maybe correct this, maybe not all required, at least all required, but also the optional fields are important for my company reports, for accuracy, but of course they are optional. In some cases, the requester may not need to do any more work and will await notifications on the approval. So based how it is set up on the template, otherwise the user would have to, the requester would need to actively click on the approval task and submit it for approval. So the preparation is done on the document, and after the approval, then the particular project or event or contract workspace is available. And the last point, which is also quite interesting or good to know or important to know, that a request can be closed or even deleted. Probably not deleted, right? Because we want to keep it, but it has no effect on the follow-on project. So we can also close the request. I said delete. I'm not sure. It's possible, but probably we will not want to do that because we would like to see the origin of the document. When we look at the request approvals for this step, the approval task for a request workspace is included by default. When we look at any out-of-the-box Ariba templates for a request, the approval task is available. In my demonstration, I'm going to show you how to create the request from scratch. And once approved, the sub-projects are added. For example, contract workspace, procurement workspace, sourcing project, or event are added based on the conditions that we have already seen. Approvals can be also automated based on the field matches. And we can, of course, as any other approval flow can be configured based on your needs. Okay. We can customize approval flows to capture necessary approvals based on request project fields. That means we can have some logic, lookup tables. When I select country, region, this and that, department, this and that, value of the contract, this and that, certain users or groups will be added into the approval flow. Now, when I'm just thinking, when I see the approvals, if you want to learn more about approvals, we do have a special webinar only on approvals. but we are going to see it into this demonstration, the piece of approval task that we need for request. In the sourcing requests, when we have an example of usage of a sourcing request, for example, this user needs to source new computers for ECME. In order to do this, the organization needs to review existing contracts and sourcing projects to ensure the budget and contractual obligations allow for new sourcing projects, or if one already exists. To do this, ECME uses a sourcing request so that Susan can create a request for computers, completing the fields needed so she can submit it for approval. John then receives the approval request and searches for any existing sourcing projects within the site, or maybe external as well, right, in other systems. He doesn't find any existing contract obligations or sourcing projects, so he approves Susan's request and the sourcing project can be created. So the benefit of this workflow or example is that Susan does not need a user license, team member, and avoids duplicate projects, as John is able to ensure there's no existing contract or project. It also avoids oversourcing or breach of contract. Very often it is not used, right? We put everything in one sourcing project. One of the first steps is that certain team members, groups need to approve the task, but approve the task is approval task and continue with the process, but here it definitely prevents Susan from continuing. She will not be able to run any project or any event if her request is not approved. When we look at a different scenario for a contract request, the ECME has opened a new office location and they need to set up cleaning services. Since they already have a master service agreement with Cool Cleaners, Susan creates a contract request for the creation of an SOW for this particular location. After submitting the request, the contract managers receive the approval request and approve. Once approved, the sub-agreement can be created. Again, the benefit is that Susan does not need a user license. Again, it avoids duplicate contracts, as contract managers are able to ensure there's no existing contract for the location that a sub-agreement can be linked. Maybe because Susan does not have the permissions, doesn't have access to all the systems where the contracts are created, one of the reasons, and the license. And it avoids breach of contract since approvers are reviewing prior to creation. And then we have another, we have not spoken much about the Procurement Workspace request. We have not spoken much about Procurement Workspace request because there's one special webinar speaking only about Procurement Workspace and Procurement Workspace requests. So on our website, in the ariba.com Drive Optimal Results, you find the Procurement Workspace webinar that works only with this topic. But we keep this slide on this information in this webinar because it's part of this webinar, because we are speaking about different types of requests which result in a project or workspace. So the prerequisite for a Procurement Workspace request is that you must have a suite integrated realm, including buying and invoicing. The Procurement Workspace request is sent by a project owner to their procurement group to let them know that a procurement workspace needs to be created for a project. Upon approval, when the procurement workspace workspace is created, the procurement workspace acts as a single repository for all documents relating to a project. So all aspects of a project can be managed in one location within the Procurement Workspace request to Procurement Workspace process. Phases, tasks can be created for workflows in sourcing, contracts, the same like in sourcing, contracts, buying and invoicing related items, supply management, analytical reports. So you have everything in one place. And the Procurement Workspace request and the Procurement Workspace have the same look like any other requests or workspace or project in sourcing and contracts. So it also has the documents tasks team. Just in the documents, I have access or link to sourcing, contracts, buying, invoicing, supply management, reports, and so on. But as I said, there's a separate webinar for more details about Procurement Workspace. In the agenda, we have seen also that one of the points that we are going to cover today is also the integration with SAP ERP. We speak about the item data from SAP Material Master that can be imported into Ariba Sourcing and Contract Management. Data from SAP ERP can be added to sourcing events, which is the Material Master, or to contract line item documents. In this configuration, please note that master data will always originate from SAP. So they will be not created somehow in Ariba events or lines in the contract. Only the published contents of a line item documents are sent back to the external system. So in this case, SAP. So we need to click on Actions, Send to External System to send the information back to ERP. Right. So that would be the slides. Let me go into the demonstration. We are going to look at the request creation, approval, and look at the templates. So I'm going to...
Lucas, would you like to take one question while you're getting into the system?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, our question is, if multiple users like Susan raise a request for computers, how can these requests be consolidated, which will result in only one sourcing project?
It will probably, there's no way how to consolidate them in one sourcing project. Probably will need to decline two and approve only one.
Okay, and then I think we have kind of a similar question. How multiple sourcing requests will be collaborated in one sourcing project because of the same commodity and the same for contract requests for same supplier? Maybe that's the same answer.
Yeah, I believe so. I think we would be able to link for reference project, the follow-on project, but also only with the project, with the request. But I believe when we go step by step, when you have the request, approval, and then we go into the contract workspace or sourcing project, then such a duplicate needs to be denied by the approver because there's already one existing. So it's a human check, right? So as we have seen in the slides or scenarios that John approves, as a human check, not the duplicate check by the system that such project events already exists.
Okay, thanks, Lucas. I'll hold the rest of the questions for later if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So we can look at your questions. We will have time at the end to answer your questions. But we can first look at the template, how it works. So I'm using one of the demo sites, and we can look at the templates. When I click on Manage Templates, they are, now when I click on that, I remember that I did not look at the standard templates. So let me guess where it can be. Good thing, important thing for everybody to organize templates properly. Now, in sourcing templates, when I click on sourcing templates, we can see here sourcing request template. Maybe this one, sourcing request template internal demo from Simona. Maybe you can look at that. Or there's definitely sourcing request as a standard template. Sorry. Yeah. I did not look at that as a standard one, but
I see
oh, did you?
Lucas, I saw one as you were scrolling. It said simply sourcing request template. Yeah,
this one.
That's Ariba system. That's in draft.
Yeah. So yeah, Ariba system draft. So we can look at this one when I click on it and open. That what we have in the template looks like a normal project or workspace. We have a documents, tasks team. On the team, we can see the team members and groups. On the tasks, we have is it the standard ones and notifications, prepare, approval. It's almost standard. I think this one auction content is doesn't look standard, but definitely we do have three tasks or more tasks in the sourcing request template. Notifications which are sent to certain users to continue working, and as we said, there's typically an approval task. The approval task for sourcing request, what we probably remember from other approval task or from the approval task webinar, that the approval task for the request is linked to the whole request, right? Not to a folder or a document, but for everything. We are going to do that. So as soon as it is approved, we can look at the approval process, approval flow, who it needs to be approved by, and that is some approvers. So on the sourcing requests template, there are a little bit more tasks available, 3, 4, and on the documents we do have the sourcing request items. So the sourcing request items are the line items and supplier. I am in the template, so it's not maybe the best place to show, but it's the same basically in the request itself. Only now I cannot populate, of course, suppliers. So suppliers cannot be here, but on the content, as you know from templates, that can be populated the content from the template. So this is what the user, the requester can prepare, suppliers and content. But this is the template, right? And of course, we do have the sourcing project. It can be the sourcing, it can be the RFP, it can be auction, it can be the full project. And what is typical, that the contract workspace, sourcing project, procurement workspace is not visible right away, it's visible after the approval. So that's when it meets the condition. We are going to do that together. When I go to contract, maybe we don't need to create, we need to search for the contract workspace, contract request. I can create the contract request right away. I wanted to do it in the, let me go here in the webinar template, and I will click on actions and create the template for the contract request, right? Create template. And it's going to be contract request. I will call it October 1. Typically, we want to use the full view, but maybe the request you can consider also using the collapsed view or the compact view, but typically we use the full view. So what we need to do in the contract request. So definitely we need to have the contract itself. So we want that after this contract request is approved, we want to have the user continues or another user continues with the contract itself. We said that it's going to be a sub-project, right? So I create a sub-project, and it's going to be the contract workspace. I'll just call it contract. I don't need to work on this. I will go back. We have seen the link. I did not. Whoops. Let me access my templates again. And it's on the webinar templates. And October 1, right? Right. So we have the contract placeholder for the future contracts. But we said that we want to have an approval task or process for the requester. So when the requester creates the contract request, there can be some tasks, do this, do that. We can do that. We can put multiple tasks here, but really the important one is the approval task for the contract request. I forgot, sorry. In the documents, it's not only the approval for the request, but maybe we want the requester to prepare already the main agreement and all these things. So we can, of course, upload here the main agreement if you work with contract authoring or some other documents. So let's put there the main agreement. I do believe I have services agreement. Yeah. If you work with contract authoring, of course, we can prepare it in a more complex way. If not, you have a placeholder, Microsoft Word document, and so on. So we have also this. So one of the tasks can be work on the services agreement, right, for the requester. When I'm looking at the time, maybe we don't need to do that. We create the task only for the contract request, for the whole contract request. As you remember, if I want to create an approval task for the whole project, whole workspace, I'm on the overview. And there are two ways how to do that. I click either here on the version, and then I select approval, or I click on actions, view details, and on actions, I create the approval task for the contract request. Approval for contract request, maybe I can delete the full name. And who is going to be the approver? The approver can be contract agent, someone who has permissions. It can be custom groups. It can be users. We can use lookup tables when we click on the custom based on the commodity value of the contract and so on. Maybe I can put there some due dates. And what is important is the field settings. We have seen it in the on the slide, on the screenshot, because we want, or what we need, that after the approval of the task, or when the task is approved, we want that the process status of the contract request changes to approved. So, small trick, and done. That's what we need to do. And I said that when the task is approved, the process status of the request changes to approved, and I need to apply it to the document, to the contract. But first I need to create the condition. So the condition, You can look at it at any standard Ariba out-of-the-box template. They already do have the conditions there. And I will call it approved request, right? Maybe like that, approved request. And the approved request, that's the name of the condition. And the condition is going to look at the field, which is called process status. Yeah, we set process status, and when the process status changes to approved, we don't have more complicated condition. It's as simple as this one. When the request is approved, status changes to approved, and the contract appears, right? And the contract appears. But I want to hide it when it's not yet approved. So I'm going to apply the condition to the folder, subfolder, documents, tasks, team members, and so on. Of course, I can put there additional team members that can be there for some reasons. We can put there edit. Let's put there regional contract. Manager. And let's leave it up to the user to populate the field with names or groups. I believe this should be working like that. We have the condition. The condition is not applied to the task. It's always visible. And we have the task. We have the contract linked with the condition. Of course, we can have also further tasks. It doesn't mean that we have to use 1, 2, 3 tasks only. We can have phases, many tasks, so that in the contract request, the agreement, the text of the contract is already prepared. And only the small final step is done at the very end of all the details. So we can have a look what other tasks we do have. When I click on a Microsoft Word document, I have all the possibilities. I have a to-do task, I have a review task, approval task, negotiation, signature, notifications. I have the full features in the request. What I don't have, of course, if I have effective date, expiration date, I don't have in the request these notifications. So these are in Contract Workspace. So that's why we need it. So they can be not, if you think, oh, let's not buy any user licenses and we can live only with the request. No, because we need also for the notifications, or when you have a integration with sourcing, awarding, or contract compliance, we will definitely need Contract Workspace. So let me publish the contract request and let's see it from I will publish. So it's contract request October 1. Let's play the user. I create a contract request. You see that I also have, with my permissions, I can also create Contract Workspace right away. But as we have seen on the slide, contract requests or sourcing requests is typically used with users who do not have the full permissions to create project or workspace directly. Contract request procurement. I will fill it in. Tests, request, demo 1, October 1. And now I would like to use some information in the new contract, and you see there can be many fields. Canada, there can be some other fields. This site is really used for training, demo, let's put it there. And if we have these fields also configured properly, or we want to use the same fields in the Contract Workspace, auto renewal regions. Let's put their regions something. Florida. jumping. Commodity, office supplies, departments. This looks very, not very usual. Supplier, let's make test Ariba. Why is this jumping? Yeah, test Ariba and so on. And I'm going to use our template, which is contract request October 1. I believe I filled in everything except for tests. I'm sorry, I don't know. And I click on create. So let's imagine I'm the limited user. I created the contract workspace. I hope we see only the services agreement. So me as the requester, the preparer, I'm going to prepare the main agreement or some other documents, which are when I can upload documents, supporting documents, and so on. The team, I can populate the team, and let's use either they are populated manually or with a team member rule file. But the tasks should guide me, right? I keep it simple. We have only one single task, which is the approval for contract request. And I sent this, I prepared everything, the documents, pricing, in sourcing. Imagine I have line items, a list of suppliers, and now I'm going to look at the details of the task, and I'm going to submit for approval. So nothing else is necessary to do. Now is an approval. Who is the approver? I can always check when I click on the task, view details, and on the approval flow, I will be able to see who are the people who can approve. Let me go. I'm pausing sharing. I will log in as a user, then I will resume sharing.
While you're doing that transition, Lucas, we have one more question. Is it possible to transfer custom fields into the ERP when we talk about the sourcing integration?
I don't know. We need to check.
Okay, I'll make note of that. We can follow up with our attendees afterwards.
And I had to creation date today. Search. I'm not the one. I'm not the one. Sorry, me. Act as. I don't get. We need to have a contract request.
On your dashboard, Lucas, did I see in your to-do? Did I see that approval task in there on your dashboard?
Right, I can check. I'm searching. All right, we can. No, this is the. Oh yeah, here it is. I believe. It would be not the best to. Of course, the user receives an email. Email is available on the to-do list in Contracts tab. When I did the test, it did not appear very quickly, so that's why I did it through the search contract request so that I can find it faster. And now I'm not the one. I'm doing it fast. Let me check again. Who is that? Lucas Borak, but I think it was also. Yeah, it was different group. Let's do it properly. properly with the. So I'm again going and I log in as the user. So let's see in the contracts, is there on the to-do? Let's search. So I hope this user created today. Otherwise, here it is. So this is the one that was created. So it appears under the to-do list or in the email. And now I'm working as Lucas, as other user. And the user reviews the documents, the text, the attachments, other documents. User looks at the overview on the header fields that were used in the request. And when everything is okay, then I can go to the task, either approved right away or from inside the task. So as soon as I click on approve, or the approver clicks on approve, we said there's a condition, it needs to be approved, and only then the contract appears. So we have the contract placeholder or template available here. It's not created, but as soon as I'm going to click on that, again, it's the same user as the approver or is a different user. Maybe it is a different user. I'm going to create contract workspace October 1. And you see that the fields have been populated from the request. Canada, Florida, commodity code, office supplies, start date, contract amount. All these fields have been copied from the request. Some fields were not there, but you can have the effective date expiration date in the request as well. It just depends how it is set up in your custom fields, how the fields are set up. And we have the imported two questions that the slide was talking about. Copy all documents for parents. Yes, of course, because we want to get the main agreement with all the details and groups. Maybe yes, maybe no, depends. And I'm going to select the template which, for example, this one that I want to use for creation of the contract. Something missing. Unsupported file format. Main agreement must be. Did I make a mistake? No. I don't know if this helps. Yeah. So the template probably did not work with. Had some was it the wrong template that could not be used for our demonstration. And you see, we have the contract workspace. Here is the parent, is the request, and I have the team members populated. I copied the contract manager from the contract request. But we have additional users. We have the additional task in the contract workspace, and I hope also in the documents we do have the services agreement, which was prepared by the requester. So now it's easy to work on that because it's already prepared. So I can always go back to the request, and now I'm in the request, but in the request I can always jump also to the contract as well. So there was a demonstration. In sourcing, it will be similar, more or less similar. We have the sourcing request, and then in the documents will be the RFP sourcing project, what is necessary to have. So let me go back to the presentation. It's the end of the demonstration. What would be the helpful parameters? You have seen that I modified the template, or I was able to create new templates. So can you copy a template? This is controlled by a parameter, artifacts enable custom templates. So if you cannot copy Ariba standard out-of-the-box template, this is the parameter that needs to be changed. You can contact Ariba support or best practice center. Requests can be used for several other types of intake forms with customizations of header fields. So we can have the header fields and we can collect the information for, well, basically for any type of requests, except for example, in SLP, there's different type of requests. We have a supplier request and it's completely different. Requests can eliminate the need for a large number of user licenses. We see it for several times here. And it helps to centralize your organization by having central approvals and end users create requests. This helps reduce duplicates and unnecessary work. When we think globally, when we think how many approvers we need in the system, so what is it for approvals? What would be the milestones? Is the approval to start work? Am I allowed? Am I supposed? Is it okay if I start negotiating with my suppliers? Imagine I start a sourcing project, RFP, it runs for weeks, for months, I negotiate, and then I create a contract and somebody tells me, Lucas, you were not supposed to do that because we already do have a contract and it's going to expire in 2 years. So I need to cancel everything. For that, we definitely can consider using the approval we can consider the request projects because I can be stopped from beginning or approved from beginning. Approval to sign the contract. So after the contract is negotiated and then spent for money. So are we allowed to buy on this contract? So another milestone or approval. So it can stop me from continuing and doing work which should not be done. Right, that's the end of our slide, of my presentation. I can invite you, we do have some minutes remaining. My slides continue, as always. I can invite you to our webinars in October. We have many interesting topics. And also, I would like to ask you to participate in our webinar poll. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that Donna can start the poll. So I would encourage you to participate in this survey. Your feedback is important to us. I mentioned that also during one of our other webinars. Maybe you can put, not here, but if you reply, we are going to get the presentation from today. And if you think of any topics that you would like us to prepare for you as a webinar, I think it can be interesting also to hear from you if there is a topic that you would like to see. So we can then prepare a topic, interesting topic for 2020 probably. And now I stop speaking.
Okay. Great, Lucas. I've started our poll. So you, to all of our attendees, you have 5 minutes to complete these questions. I believe there are 5. Yes, there are 5. So we really appreciate your feedback so that we can continue our webinar program. There are no more questions in the chat. If someone would like to speak to Lucas, you can press *6 to unmute yourself. I'm going to leave the recording running just in case we get questions that could be helpful for future viewers of this recording. Yeah. Really interesting topic.
Yeah. There's one question from the transfer custom fields into ERP. I don't think that the ones that we have seen can be integrated. My demo I could not do in the integrated environment. So what we have not seen that if I create a contract workspace or sourcing project, then there's an area next to the or below to the Ariba fields or custom fields section, which is called external system integration, which is the purchasing unit, is the payment terms, Incoterms, and so on. And this is integrated, but I believe not any above this section. So only certain fields do have integration, and only in the section external system integration. But I can check. Plus, of course, those which are in the line item details, in the contract line items, or in the sourcing, in the RFP auction, that are based on the material master. So that could be that it is integrated. But I can check.
Okay. We have about 2 minutes left on our poll, so if you haven't finished or you haven't started, please do so now. And again, if you'd like to ask Lucas a question, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
You want to have, as we said, that users don't, it's used when there's limited licenses. I'm just thinking how to force people to use the contract request, for example, sourcing request. But typically the contract request, when it's created manually, that you will have to put a condition on the template for the normal contract workspace so that you force people to use the contract request. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so even if they do have license and there's an access gate should be used as an approval, then we need to play a little bit around with the conditions so that when user by mistake or forgets that when creates a contract workspace, there's a template, continues. But if there's not, remembers maybe, oh, I should create contract request first, so that we create this approval and access gate.
Yes, great idea. Great idea, Lucas. We did have a comment in our chat asking about a webinar, providing a webinar on ECA, Enhanced Contract Authoring. I did want to share with you that we do have, out on Ariba.com, we do have an ECA series in English, and we do have one webinar in Spanish on Enhanced Contract Authoring. So we would invite you to visit Ariba.com and look for our webinars, and you will find previous webinars on the Contracts tab and in the Spanish webinars tab that deal with the topic of Enhanced Contract Authoring. So you got your wish right away.
Yeah. Yeah, contract authoring is definitely there.
Yeah, it's a great topic also.
Yeah. So you can watch the webinar, record it, and if you have any questions, contact Best Practice Center, reply to the email that I'm going to send you the presentation. Find out if you have some BPC hours, or so that we can, or check if you have Best Practice Center hours or not. And me or my colleague will be able to help you with your contract authoring.
Perfect. Well, our poll has ended. Thank you so much to all of you who participated. And thanks so much, Lucas, for a great presentation. I'm sure this will make for a great recording also for those who were unable to attend. And I'm going to stop our recording now. And if there are any final questions, please press *6. If not, we wish you a wonderful day. And thanks to everyone.